How we doing, people? Welcome back to the Super Bowl podcast. I'm bringing the energy today. It's episode number 39 with the fellas. Harper Halleck, Braden Dorman. How we feeling?
Oh, we're feeling good.
Yeah?
We're feeling real good.
We got some volunteers over here. They volunteered to show up today.
Well represented over here.
Yeah.
Unlike our other side.
Look, we need some unbiased predictions coming up, projections, because guess what? We're going to get into some college football playoff talk because the 12 teams out. And it's controversial as always. And we have some great picks that are guaranteed to probably be incorrect. So get excited. We're excited.
Mean, our last couple of years with the 4-team playoffs,
we managed to butcher that.
We have not been great.
Every single time.
And so one would think, add more teams, we're going to do better.
Look, I'm always confident, right? I mean, we have some analysts in the room who have great experience with college football. Been to some football games in the past year. Yeah. Everybody here has.
Yeah.
So
we've been to some good games, and we might be going to some playoff games.
There's a chance. Word on the street. So, yeah.
Well, hey, here's what I'll say. I'm guessing you were being sarcastic because if we add more teams, I think this is
I was definitely
being a whole lot worse.
Facetious. Yep.
Facetious.
But we are going to go through the whole 12-team playoff, and we're gonna. As always, we've got our odd crew of 3 here, so. We're going to be able to 2 out of 3 this thing and see how our bracket develops. First round, obviously, is going to be home teams for the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seeds hosting 9 through 12.
That's right.
I think maybe that could be the most cut and dry round, maybe, because you've got home teams, but who knows?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, we really quickly want to just touch on, I just want your quick thoughts on how the field ended up, what you thought. Did you think they did anything wrong? Of course, I'm talking about the committee. Harper?
Yeah, I'll start off. I think 2 misconceptions people had at the end of last season when they heard that we were expanding to a 12-team playoff. They're like, oh, that means the regular season is going to be less exciting, right? And they also thought that maybe it would be more clear-cut. I think both of those proved to be wrong. You can't make everyone happy even when you expand it to 12 teams, right? There's still some teams that feel like they got the business, so to speak. And then we look at the regular season and how much excitement did that create from beginning to end?
I think it was awesome because there were probably 30 to 40 teams and fan bases that at some point in the season felt like they had a chance to make the playoff.
Right. Like even like Colorado, like a team like that was fun, right? Because that created even more excitement for the college football landscape. Now, with all that being said, I think the committee overall did really well. I think the whole SMU-Alabama controversy, which I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts as well, I think they chose the easy decision, right? If they chose Alabama, right, what would that have made teams think about the conference championships moving forward?
Yeah.
Would they try to avoid the conference championships because in SMU's case, it would have been used against them, right?
Right.
This time, they didn't use SMU's loss in the ACC championship to Clemson against them, and they took Alabama out. Now, do I think Alabama is the better team, SMU? I do. But last year they got in over Florida State. I think in some ways they were trying to make that right. Those are my general thoughts.
Love it.
Yeah, agree a lot there. I think the right decision was made. Otherwise, you are de-incentivizing these championship games, right?
Word.
I don't know how to
Big
say
word.
that right. I've heard it said on ESPN. Everybody's talking about it, so I'm like, I got to nail that one on the pod. Anyway, de-incentivizing championship games.
Correct.
Now, so like a team like Tennessee was in the catbird seat because they were just, you know what, we're the third best SEC team. We're going to relax. We're going to be vibing, and we're going to watch from the couch, rest up, be ready to go. So, yeah, 100% I think is the right decision. You can make the argument the rankings before because of SMU's strength of schedule. You bring all that up versus Alabama. I get it. They're tough to compare. But the way they were ranked going into championship weekend, that is the only thing I think you can argue about. And honestly, this is what I love about the 12 team because no coach, in my opinion, can feel like their team was like just got robbed. You know what I mean? Alabama lost 3 games.
Yeah.
They lost 2 to 6-6 teams. I mean, that is just not even going to come close in a 4-team playoff.
Right.
The 12 team, they got closer than I thought they would. So,
Well said.
to me, I think that eliminates any. Look, if you're losing games and putting it in the committee's hands, we know the committee can be controversial, and Alabama ended up on the wrong side. Honestly, for one of the first times, I feel like so.
Oh man, I was watching that selection show and I was just waiting for the Alabama logo to show.
Yeah,
Because of course they know it comes down to this. Everybody knows it's those two teams, which maybe another argument could say there should have been other teams involved in that discussion, but pretty clearly ESPN slowly made it the Alabama SMU show. And pretty crazy to see Clemson come in, win the ACC championship. They think their season's over after losing the week before to South Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah.
Miami gets upset, letting Clemson into the ACC championship. They steal the bid. I mean, if SMU beats Clemson, Bama's probably in right now. And then in the back of my head, I'm wondering, all right, if SMU loses by 14 to 17 to Clemson, is Alabama sitting in that 11 seed right now? So
I have another question for you.
Yeah.
If Bama didn't lose in terrible fashion to Oklahoma 2 or 3 weeks ago, do you think an SMU? Do you think it would have mattered?
I think it would have changed things for sure.
Absolutely.
I think as soon as I saw them lose by 21 to Oklahoma,
that's got to be.
They in my opinion deserved no part of being in the playoffs. So I think it was the right decision.
They eliminated any right to have an argument, in my opinion. If they got bailed out and situations worked out, I mean, look, but there was no reason in my opinion, to argue with saying Alabama's a top 12 team when they're losing these games. You know, they can play like it, but they didn't all season, and that's kind of what matters.
Totally. And I like your guys' point. You guys both brought it up. Like, you can't hurt a team. Like, a team cannot be punished for playing in their conference championship game. They're playing an extra game.
Yeah.
They earned that right.
Right.
I think the only thing you can do is help them or boost them even further for getting to that point. And you can't reward teams for not making it. And I understand the SEC is deeper and better than the ACC, but that would have been a big mistake.
Yeah.
It's a weird system. I mean, this 12 team's a little bit weird with how it works out with the buys and everything.
Yeah.
A lot of other sports, you get the top 4 teams just overall get the bye, not conference champions. So it's a little bit interesting how it sorts out because there is different levels of competition. So
this is the first year. There's bound to be some kinks
for sure.
And I think there are. I think we should look at the bracket right now. I think the biggest thing is number 1 Oregon has to play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee, and I think that's brutal.
How's that a reward for being number 1?
Right. When you look at if they lose to the Big Ten championship, they're the 5 seed, and they are hosting Clemson at home, which feels like a pretty good opportunity to get a win. And then they're playing Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. So,
which are still good teams.
And ultimately, you're winning one. You have to win one less game. A bye's awesome.
Right.
A bye's great. I think, and we'll see how this plays out. But I think in the future, whether it's next year, whether it's years down the road, I think they'll go away from giving the byes to the conference champs. I think they'll still be in the playoff. I think the 5 highest should be in the playoff. But I think they'll still go with the top 4 seeds.
And so then the committee's going to have more power now. They're going to be like, who's going to get the bye?
Right.
It's going to be fun.
But, yeah, you look at Oregon. How's that a reward for being the best team in the country?
Yeah.
And then you look at, like, Penn State, and you look at Texas. Like, although they're not the top 4, one can make the argument they have an easier path than both Georgia and Oregon.
Yeah, no doubt.
Totally. And, I mean, you think about NCAA basketball. Obviously, all these automatic bids for winning your conference championship gets you in the tournament, but it doesn't give you any advantage. It gets you in the tournament, and then we're going to seed you 1 through 64.
We're going to put you as a 16 seed if you're conference. Yeah, right.
So
for sure.
I don't hate the idea. I liked the idea of the buys, but now seeing it play out, if we're talking about getting the best teams to the finals, which I think is the goal, there's probably a better way to do it. But this is our bracket. This is where we're at, and we're going to go through it here. First game is Texas hosting Clemson. The winner will play Arizona State in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I'll start with you. And also, hey, if I say a matchup and you just really don't want to be a part of this, you can just, if you say it first, say I'm going last first, you can go, feel free. Or if you want to go first and get it out of the way.
Sure. Okay, Texas, Clemson. It's crazy. I hadn't even thought much about this. This is fun. Natural thoughts here. Give me the SEC. I'm going to take Texas. I do think this game will be a bit closer. I'm a little worried about Texas in big football games, especially against the Bulldogs. I mean, they've just not quite showed out the way I expected Not sure if they're really are playing like a top 5 team.
Sure.
So I do expect Clemson to at least keep this close for a half. But I think Texas will pull it out in the end and advance.
I'm a sucker for the SEC, but I'm going the Tigers here.
Oh, jeez.
So right now, the Texas Longhorns, okay, they have 0 wins against current top 25 teams.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? And the way that Clemson has ran the table and sneaked their way into the playoffs, they're playing loose, right?
Yeah.
And you have Dabo Swinney, the second most experienced coach in the college football playoffs. I think
He's
they're
been
going
in
to
the playoff
stun.
7 times.
Yeah, I think they're gonna stun the Longhorns in Austin. I think it's going to be an exciting game.
I would be close to agreeing with you if it was on a neutral site.
See, that's another point.
I think
yeah.
Texas hosting gives them a bit of an edge. But I agree. Texas hasn't really done much for me this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Clemson, they're going to have, like, you just kind of felt like they were going to win the ACC championship. A lot of people were saying, well, SMU's just better. Yeah, but it's Clemson. Like, they're probably going to win, and then they do. They made it a little closer than we thought it would be. But ultimately getting the win, that was a pretty awesome game-winning field goal, by the way.
It was.
Send
Yeah,
them to
it
the
was.
playoff.
It was cool.
I think this is going to be a close game. But I think the smart play here is to go with Texas.
Yeah.
All right.
It's.
And I'm rooting for Clemson. Well, no doubt about it.
I don't even know who I'm rooting for in that one, honestly.
I mean,
you
And
got the real UT.
the Battle of the Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
of the inferior orange
Uh-huh.
is
The real UT is crazy.
Yeah, the real UT is going to be interesting to see who. Hey, we're going to find out. Maybe here.
I
eventually.
mean, I guess, but all right. Moving forward.
All right, so it will be Texas and Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. We'll get to that in a second. Tennessee, Ohio State is going to be played in Columbus. Winner will play number 1 Oregon in the Rose Bowl.
I mean, you might as well go first.
I'm a lock. Go Volunteers. One thing, Ryan Day is on the hot seat,
Yeah.
and Columbus may be the most toxic stadium in the U.S. right now.
Uh-huh.
With the way that Michigan came in there and spoiled their season, if the Buckeyes don't come out at least looking like a respectable football team in the first half, I think they may be booing. I think it may be, honestly, like a neutral site if they don't come out and show out the first half. I'm hoping the Volunteers will be able to lean on their defense, especially the defensive line. Ohio State's offensive line hasn't looked great, so hopefully we can exploit that. But Ohio State also has an amazing roster. I think this is the best first-round matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Took the words right out of my mouth on the best first-round matchup for sure. I'm glad it's prime time on Saturday night. Took the best slate because it is. It is the best game. I'm most interested in this game in the first round as well. Look, I don't know exactly how to feel. If this was at Neyland, I am taking Tennessee every single time. But it's not. But it doesn't matter. I'm still taking Tennessee, and I would
Go Vols.
Yeah, we're moving Tennessee on. I think the defense is going to show up. I do worry. I mean, I know for my Miami Dolphins, playing in cold weather is horrible. But that's Miami. This is Knoxville. It's a little cold in Knoxville. It's not really that big of a deal, I don't think. I got the Volunteers, the hometown squad, moving on in the college football playoff, their first ever college football playoff win.
Is it their first ever college football playoff game?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I thought so. I was just wanted you to say it out loud. Just kidding. I'm rooting for the Vols myself. Rooting. Yes, I am rooting for the Vols, just like I'm rooting for Clemson. Ohio State looked really bad against Michigan.
Yep.
Home field advantage.
It's huge.
Certainly, it's massive. I love Tennessee's defensive line. I love their whole defense has been kind of carrying them this year.
Which is odd for us last few years.
It is.
Yep.
And you have the capability, you have the guys to do it offensively. The question is, are they going to step up? I'm a bit worried that Ohio State comes out with a lot of fire because of that loss to Michigan. Maybe that almost wakes them up. And I'm just gonna do this for the group because I know we're all rooting for Tennessee. I think if we all pick them, they're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna pick Ohio State.
All right.
Just for the safety
I
of
respect that.
Tennessee winning this game.
And for yourself, if Tennessee ultimately does lose, and you can be like, look, I told you guys.
You said it, not
David.
me.
Yeah, I do that too. So hey,
You just went back on your word there,
All right,
buddy.
so Tennessee is going to win that,
there they
and
are.
they're going to head to Pasadena and Rose Bowl versus number 1 Oregon. SMU is the
Fireworks.
11 seed. They will face number 6 Penn State. We know that's a pretty good atmosphere. Winner will go to the Fiesta Bowl to face Boise State, which, look how this worked out for Penn State. They get SMU and then Boise State after losing the Big Ten championship. Oregon, of course, gets Tennessee or Ohio State. That's all I'll say.
Me?
I'll start
Alright,
this one.
you start.
I'll start this one, and I'm going to go with Penn State. SMU's, I think these are all going to be close games. SMU, they've been good this year. They looked decent against Clemson. They showed a lot of fight in the ACC championship. I just think Penn State actually really impressed me against Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They stuck with them. The offense scored at a rate that I wasn't expecting. They gave up a lot of points, but I think Oregon's going to score on everybody. And I think the home field advantage is definitely going to be too much. I think if there's going to be a blowout in the first round, this one might be it.
Cool. I'll go. Hopefully we see a whiteout. Yeah?
Oh, they better.
I mean,
that would be cool.
I would say arguably the best home field advantage out of all 4 of these matchups, right?
Yeah.
I hope to see a whiteout. I think that'd be electric. One thing I will say, just like Ryan Day is on the hot seat, I think this is a pivotal game for James Franklin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Big game. Yeah.
isn't he 1-5 against top 5 opponents? I believe I have that stat right.
All time.
Sure feels like it.
Has he won a playoff game? I don't think
I don't
he
think
has.
so.
No.
They've made it to the playoffs, I think, once or twice. He's lost both rounds, both first-round appearances. I think,
Something
though,
like that.
this is huge for him to take that next step as a coach and as a program. They haven't been able to get it done in the big moments, and I hope they do. I'm going for Penn State as well here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, every part of my being wants to pick SMU because I do feel like they are very I mean, look, everybody's talking about, look at Penn State. They got the easiest path. I mean, look at Penn State. You think SMU's not hearing this and putting this on tape in the locker room and being like, look, boys, we're going to show up and we're going to win this ball game. We're going to show them that Texas hospitality and we're going to win this ball game. However,
They're going to say it like that, too.
yeah, however, it is a cold weather game. As a Dolphins fan, I'll bring this up again. I do not like my team playing in the cold. I think that will play somewhat of a role. I do look for SMU. Honestly, I look for that first quarter. How is that going to turn out? Is Penn State going to run away with it early? Or does SMU really kind of put the pressure on? If they put the pressure on, I think they got a chance in that first quarter. But I think Penn State's gonna win, and I would project by a couple scores.
Okay. Penn State will then play Boise in the Fiesta Bowl. Final game here. Let's go through it. This is a Indiana matchup.
Yep.
Indiana, Notre Dame. It's going to be played at Notre Dame. The winner will go to the Sugar Bowl to face Georgia.
Yeah. Two interesting teams here, right? You got Indiana. Obviously, we don't really know much about them, I feel like. I mean, look, Ohio State was their test, and, they've probably heard that a million times, and I'm sure they're another team that's probably in the locker room being like, look, nobody thinks we can win. Nobody thinks we can win against these big teams. And then you got Notre Dame, who's had a really bad loss, but has looked absolutely incredible ever since. They've took care of business. This is an interesting one. I think this could go either way. I am going to pick Notre Dame here, but I don't feel incredibly confident about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm not a believer in the Fighting Irish when it comes to big game moments, and I just feel like the committee in college football in general has some sort of bias towards Notre Dame. They always seem to be in the hunt when I don't necessarily feel like they deserve it.
I mean, the non-conference schedule.
They don't ever play a conference game, right? And
Right.
it just feels a little weird to me. Yes, it's going to be in South Bend, touchdown Jesus. It's going to be a cool home field advantage. But I think what you said, to go off your point about Indiana, not many people know about them. I think they can use that as their advantage, right?
Yeah, sure.
They haven't really had a true test other than the Ohio State game, but I think they've learned from that. And what I like to see, what's the head coach's name? I don't know.
Cignetti.
Yes, that guy is inspirational. I love him. I think they're a gritty football team, and I would love for them to go into South Bend and pull off the upset.
So is that your pick?
Yeah.
Okay. He's going
The
in.
Hoosiers.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think this is just going to be a physical, chippy game. I mean, these are probably rivals, right? I mean, they're in state.
Yeah,
I've heard that these
sure.
tickets compared to the other quarterfinals these aren't even quarterfinals, first round matchups are through the roof because of how the vicinity between these two programs. I could completely see Indiana going in there and winning, just because they've put up some serious points this year. It just comes down to, are they going to show up? And they do play the lone game on the 20th, or the other 3 games
Right.
on the 21st. So I think this game's going to end up being really close.
Mhm.
I'm going to go Notre Dame. And I agree that they've been frauds in past years, and they lost to Northern Illinois. But, they ended a lot of team seasons this year. Like a solid Army team wiped them. A solid Navy team wiped them. A solid
Yeah.
USC team didn't go well at first, and they turned it around. They beat an A&M team
Beginning of the year.
in A&M.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just that's a one I just don't feel great about either way.
Yeah.
Like truthfully, but I think Notre Dame. I think it's a coin toss, not necessarily because, like I actually have a gut feeling that the winner is going to win by multiple scores, but I just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
I am going Notre Dame, and I
Yeah.
think I like their running game. I think their defense is going to play well at home.
Second round?
Let's go right into it, and let's stay at the bottom part of this bracket. Let's go with
Sure.
Notre Dame against Georgia. This one not being played at Georgia. It's being played
Mm.
Sure.
at the All-State Sugar Bowl, which
Yeah.
I believe is played in New Orleans. Yep, it's in New
Okay.
Orleans. So probably a little closer to the Georgia fans, of
Yeah.
course. Georgia's played in some Sugar Bowls. I can almost guarantee you that.
Mhm.
Yep.
How are we feeling about this game? I'll go second.
So the status of Carson Beck, obviously a question here.
Mm.
Definitely something to think about. Georgia's an interesting team. That they certainly have their moments, and they've had a wild year, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. It's interesting. I mean, I don't feel incredible about Notre Dame here, so I'm gonna pick Georgia.
Yep.
Pretty confidently. Although, what team shows up for Georgia is a big question. I mean, including who's at quarterback. I do think Gunnar Stockton is a solid quarterback. I think he's going to, find his groove a little bit here. But, yeah, give me the dogs in this one.
Yeah,
Go second.
I'll go next here. I mean, just looking at across the bracket, I don't know if we really picked much of an upset. I think there's going to be a couple upsets in this round. I in the grand scheme of things, like there's going to be upsets. We see it every year in college basketball. We see it every year in every sport. But Georgia just finds a way. I pick against them every year in this podcast, and it never works out for me.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I'm going to pick against them again because I think Notre Dame's going to have that momentum. And the reason I pick Notre Dame is because I think they can win again. I hope you'll support me in this. I don't expect you to, but I think Notre Dame's going to go in there. They're going to punch Georgia in the face. I think Georgia's squeaked by a lot of mediocre teams this year. I don't know who's going to be at quarterback, but I don't think it really matters. I think Notre Dame's going to out-physical them, which doesn't happen a lot, but I think they can have the ability to run it down Georgia's throat. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are watching this that aren't going to like this, but they probably expect it from me because I do it every year, and I'm doing it again. Give me the Fighting Irish to move on to the Final Four.
I mean, brother, I don't like Georgia. I mean, the viewers, you guys know I don't like Georgia, but I would be a fool to say how I didn't believe in Notre Dame last round against the Hoosiers and then pick them
that's
over
why
Georgia.
I don't feel great
I
about
don't
it.
even – I see this honestly not even being close.
I see it close.
I
see it close.
I understand that Georgia's had their moments this year, but out of all the teams in the playoffs, I think they've had the toughest schedule. And although they haven't been the prettiest wins, they win games.
They do.
Right?
They've had
And
controversy, certainly.
if they can, right, there's definitely that exists, right? But if they can get some of these injuries figured out, you talk about Kirby in the playoffs, like they know what they're doing in these moments. And I don't think Notre Dame does. Again, like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I just don't believe in the Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm
and
going
Notre
Dogs.
Dame has, maybe to their own detriment, played great football like the whole way. The rest. So what would it look like for Notre Dame to start off slow in this game?
Yeah.
I worry. Do they get it together? Do they find, when maybe they get punched in the face early.
Yeah.
Like, can they get back up and figure it out? Because they've had such a kind of a smooth sailing season ever since Southern Illinois. Is that correct?
Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
Northern
Illinois.
Yeah,
Sorry,
not even
which
Southern.
Whatever Illinois we're talking about, which I thought was going to be a potential playoff team. Shout out to them, but unfortunately they. I hope they're playing in a bowl. Surely they're playing in a bowl.
They better be.
Anywho, yeah.
Well, and I also agree. Like, you have to be taken into consideration that Notre Dame might not even be in this game, so it's hard to pick them. It is hard to pick them, and that's going to be the case for the next 3 games as well.
But momentum's fun. Momentum's fun.
I feel like people feel like this Georgia side of the bracket is much easier than the Oregon side of the bracket, which is crazy that it's panned out that way again because Oregon's 1 and Georgia's 2. But let's see a little surprise. Let's see Notre Dame go in there. But we are going with Georgia to go to the Orange Bowl semifinal. They will play the winner of Penn State and Boise State, played here in Glendale.
That's right.
I'm going to go with Boise State. And you know what? I just told you how good I thought Penn State looked. I really don't love this matchup for Boise State. It's not an easy one for them, but they're not going to get an easy matchup in the quarterfinals of college football playoff. And also for all of these matchups, I do worry about the extra week off and while the other team gets a game in and then another 10 days off. I mean, it's a good 3 weeks off here. But Boise State's had a lot of big moments in Fiesta Bowls in the past. They like to break out the trick plays, and I think they have the best player in the country on their team in Ashton Jeanty. I'm really excited. I've been excited to watch Jeanty in the playoff all year. I want to see him against good competition. Let's see if he keeps it going. Obviously, Penn State's going to put everything they can into stopping Jeanty, but I don't think they're one-dimensional. I think their quarterback's been good this year, and I think their defense has been good this year. They're at number 3 for a reason. I think they earned it, and I think the Boise State fan base will travel well. I think Penn State's will too, but I expect Boise to show out in big numbers in Glendale, and I'm hoping for a big Jeanty game.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. I think Jeanty is going to be an absolute delight to watch in the playoffs, and we'll get to see him against, like you said, real competition. Yeah, I just don't see it happening. I love the story of Boise State, but if I think Penn State is going to play as well as they do first round, they're going to finally get that monkey off their back. James Franklin's going to get some swagger. The Nittany Lions are going to get some momentum rolling, and I don't see them losing this game if they beat SMU the first round. I don't. I see them going the next round. I'll keep it simple.
Yeah. It's interesting. You can look both ways with this bye thing, right? We can say, hey, players are going to be rested. They're going to be ready to go. But also they could be rusty in that first quarter. A lot of time off. With a team like Penn State coming off a win, maybe they're banged up from that win, but they have the win. They have the momentum. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. And, man, it's an interesting one. Look, I'm going to go with my gut, and it is Boise State here. I do like Boise. I think this is an upset card. I think, again, we're looking at this, and the whole world is saying, oh, whoever wins that game, they'll just breeze by Boise. Next, it's not that easy. Like, Boise State's been a good team this year. They've won games. They've played close games as well.
Well, their one loss. Let's talk about their one loss.
Yeah, I mean,
to Oregon by 3.
But yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Oregon at the beginning of the year, they did struggle, but
that's fair.
Teams find themselves. I think Boise State's played a heck of a year. They deserve to be in here. They deserve to have a chance, and they're gifted. They're given the bye. They earned the bye, right? I mean, I think they're going to win this game.
It's just funny that you said it's like I'm going for the upset when they're the higher seed. I get what you're saying because the country is already counting them out. I get what you're saying. People aren't expecting them to win it, but it's just funny to me because there's arguments to be made that they don't deserve that spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But by the rules, they do.
They get it.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah,
and
it's the system. Don't hate the
matchup.
team.
I think in this matchup, if it's Penn State Boise, I think Penn State will be favored. So I do think it would be an upset.
I guess.
Sure.
Sure.
Don't hate the team. Hate the system is what I would say.
And then again, I also think if Boise got to play SMU, I think Boise wins. So
I do too.
That's also another reason for me picking Boise.
I like Boise.
All right, Tennessee, Oregon, Rose Bowl. Obviously, a bit of a geographic advantage maybe to Oregon, but Tennessee, again, getting that game in, and if they knock off Ohio State, why can't they beat Oregon?
Right. I mean, I guess I'll start because I'm a lock. Ride or die, go Vols, baby. I think this game would be interesting because, like we mentioned before, Oregon is not rewarded for being the number 1 seed. I think they get the toughest winner out of the first round between Tennessee and Ohio State. I think if Tennessee is able to come out and run the ball the first half, I think we have a good chance of upsetting the number 1 team in the country. And again, I'll say it, Big Ten versus SEC. I know the Big Ten has more teams in the playoffs this year. They're more represented than the SEC is, but it just means more.
Just means more. Yeah. I'm going to go with Oregon, and I think there have been a lot of moments this year where Oregon's been able to find, more specifically, Dan Lanning has been able to find something to motivate his team. And I think, again, they're going to say, Oregon got screwed. This is a really tough matchup for them. They're in trouble. And Dan Lanning uses that to his advantage. I think Oregon just finds ways to win this year. They have all year. And I think this is a team that can win the national championship. So as much as I'm going to be rooting for Tennessee, I think the smart play here is to go with Oregon.
Come on.
And that's all I'll say.
Come on. Do it.
Look, Oregon's had a heck of a year. They have played incredible football to this point.
Okay.
I have a lot of power right now, and I'm enjoying it. No, anyway, look, Oregon's a great football team, arguably the favorite to win at this point. They are the 1 seed. They've earned the 1 seed, the only undefeated team in the country. But look, this Tennessee team, I feel, has the potential to win this game. Now, will they win this game? That's the question.
Dude, can you just answer it?
I love milking this out. But look, here's the thing.
I'm just going to throw one
Tennessee's
more
defense,
thing in there.
yeah, sure.
I also think Oregon would beat Ohio State. And that's another
Right.
reason for me picking Oregon.
Right, for sure.
Fair.
For sure. Look, this tournament, there's going to be some upsets. This feels like a March Madness run that I am ready to see. The Volunteers are doing this, and they're moving on past Oregon in
Let's ride.
the biggest upset of the tournament.
Okay.
Go Vols, baby.
And I'm confident in it, straight up. It's a gut feeling that I think Oregon, if they're down early, I think the pressure's all on them. Tennessee's playing with house money. They're there, and they're having fun. They're playing loose. They'd already played a game. They weren't supposed to be here.
That's right.
Against the number 1 team in the country.
And teams need to work through their losses.
Yeah, right.
Oregon hasn't lost yet.
Right. Tennessee's had the tougher schedule. I think Tennessee's more ready for this type of game than Oregon, and I think that just barely will put them over the edge.
I like it. I'm rooting for it.
Bold take, baby. I love it.
All right, Texas-Arizona State will play the winner in the Cotton Bowl. Let's go through this one quickly. Arizona State, they've been impressive this year. A complete surprise to see them make their way from 0% to 2% to 3% to 16% to 100% in the playoff. Pretty crazy what they did. I'm going to go with Texas. I'm again rooting for Arizona State. I think Scadaboo's been a whole lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
They dominated Iowa State, no doubt about it. And Texas could lose to Clemson. No, we mentioned that it was close in our predictions.
Yep.
But if they get past Clemson, I think they also get past Arizona State.
I'll go ahead and make this quick. I'm also taking Texas. I would have taken the winner, Clemson or Texas, over ASU. I think they're a fun, exciting team. Do I think they deserve to be a number 4 seed in the playoffs? No, I do not. But hey, like you said, that's the way the system laid out, and it's a broken system. You can't hate the teams for going where they need to be. So
I got Arizona State, actually. I was just going to pick Arizona State here. I think if we're picking Boise State behind that running back of Genty, I think Scadaboo and Arizona State. And look, they're playing incredible football right now.
Does the 1 week bye, does that stop their momentum?
It could hurt a little bit, but I'm expecting them to pick up right where they left off and just stun Texas. Put it on them early, and then Texas has to rebound, and I don't think they pull it off. I think Texas plays in a close game against Clemson, gets a little banged up probably naturally from that game. Arizona State well rested, ready to go. Give me the Sun Devils here.
Nice. Well, I see what you guys were doing. I see what you're doing.
See what's next.
You're doing the Battle of UT. That was the whole reason why we're here in this moment. All right, I understand now. Texas, Tennessee, playing in the Cotton Bowl, playing in Dallas, Texas. Battle of UT. Let's just get yours out of the way.
Yep, go Vols. Ride or die. I actually think this is going to be awesome because I talk trash with every Texas fan I know. It's going to be fun to watch it with them. Just so you guys know, University of Tennessee was founded over a century before University of Texas. Even though people on the West Coast miscorrectly use the term UT to refer to University of Texas, Tennessee is the rightful owner of the name UT. So, yep, that's just my long way of saying go Vols.
You want to give it to me? All right. Tennessee's going to the national championship. Look, I think this works perfectly for them. Okay, I had Texas losing in the last round to Arizona State. Actually, I think Texas is not going to go all the way. I think Tennessee has a better chance, straight up. And in this matchup, give me the Volunteers. I'm looking at the schedule. Texas has lost both games to Georgia. I mean, they haven't really played anybody else. I mean, I think Tennessee, behind the run game, Dylan Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Volunteers are going to be the team that everyone remembers from this year.
The inaugural college football playoff 12 team.
And Nico does it. A national championship appearance.
Man, I'd love to see this. But when I look, and obviously my pick doesn't matter, so I'll try to keep this quick. If I had to decide if this was a split vote and I was going, I would go Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think Texas has an easier road to this moment. I think there's a higher odds of them being in the national championship because they go through Clemson and then Arizona State, while Tennessee has to go through Ohio State and Oregon.
Absolutely.
If I'm picking between the two teams at this moment, they both get to this game. That's when things get closer. But I'm not even gonna give you my answer for that because I don't.
In full transparency, I have Arizona State, Tennessee.
That would be crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, and now we have Boise State and Georgia in the Orange Bowl. Winner will get to play Tennessee in the national championship.
Oh, this couldn't be setting up more perfectly.
All
We
right.
get our revenge. Wait, sorry. I guess I was just kind of going.
Just pick.
I guess I should just keep going. Let me cook. Setting up for a rematch in the national championship. And does it feel like 98 to you guys? Sure does
We'll
to
find
me.
out next round.
It sure feels to me. I'm going Georgia.
I'll let you pick.
Yeah. Man, what chaos we have here. This would be an incredible Final Four. Man, this is why we love March, but instead, make it December and January, baby.
That's
Come
right.
on.
Extend it.
All right. Boise State, Georgia. This is an interesting game. Truthfully, I think Boise State is going to squeak by the last round matchup, and I think Georgia's just the better team, just going to win this game. I think Boise had a heck of a run, heck of a year. I do think it ends here. I don't think Georgia just destroys them like a TCU kind of vibe, but I think I think Georgia wins handedly, setting up an SEC brawl in the national championship.
2 points I'd like to make. Boise State, Tennessee would be my dream national championship.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Second point, I'm rooting against the SEC in every single game except Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll make my pick. I will go with Georgia if this matchup did happen.
Yeah, right.
I would have liked Penn State's chances more to beat Georgia, but I think Boise State will beat Penn State, and I'm sure that I get some slack for that. But I think
agree.
matchup-wise, I just I think Penn State probably had a better chance to beat them. So here we are. We're at Tennessee and Georgia, of course. Is just as
I
we
would like to
expected.
pick last.
I should go first, right? Because,
Go first.
I mean, back against the wall. I mean, I've done this every time. I'm just going to keep riding it. Go Vols. Feels like 98.
Yeah. I think
that'd
you
be
should
so
go
fun.
next.
We may all be thinking the same thing. I am putting my flag down. I'm wearing red. But Tennessee is going to win the national championship because Zach Tellup. That is my reason. Zach, you're
Zachary.
watching this. He was on the team the Tennessee baseball team that won the Natty this past year. I
Could you
think
imagine?
again, Zach is the magic. He brings it, and Tennessee since '98, it is '98 this year. The Volunteers in a remarkable March Madness-like run. Tennessee is the national champions, and I cannot believe it. And boy, that would be something for my family, for people in the South here.
Defeating one of their
Georgia, yeah.
most hated rivals.
Yeah.
What you couldn't tee it up better than that.
I
could you?
mean, look, that is. I think it's hard to beat. A team twice. Georgia would have to do that, and I think Georgia is banged up too. I think Tennessee, hopefully, they stay healthy throughout the rounds they play. But if they're taking down Oregon, why not? Why not?
Cool. I mainly want to let you guys have this moment. I'm not even going to pick because I don't need to. Would absolutely be rooting my butt off for Tennessee. Okay, I'll quickly say it. I don't think either of these teams will be in the national championship. But
And he kills them
if
all.
they
No,
did.
I'm just kidding.
if they did, I mean, obviously Tennessee's going to get revenge, right? Because they always
Right.
do.
Right.
All right.
Did you expect that, Hauk?
So the 9
A
seed.
little bit of a low blow.
Did you?
The 9 seed Tennessee
Low
over
blow.
the 2
From him.
seed Georgia. I'm just trying to be realistic here. But again,
We've tried that, Braden. We've tried to be realistic.
That's right.
And you know what happens? Every time the realistic lets it down. We got to be optimistic. We've got to be excited.
Wow.
We've got to pull
Preach.
for the dogs,
Keep
the
going.
underdogs, not the dog. Okay. You get the point. The dogs and the
Smoky
underdogs.
dogs.
This one, yeah, we got some dogs up in here. All right. The SEC, they're 2 SEC teams at the end of the day. I mean,
Just means more.
Yeah, it does mean more. And I know that would probably frustrate you a little bit. It'd frustrate a lot
we're
of
going to
fans,
see if it
but-
means more. Like we are.
Yeah, we are.
And
I-
a lot of people will get shut up if the SEC dominates, like they very well could.
Yeah.
But also the SEC folk are also going to need to shut their mouth if they get dominated here, because all we've been hearing all year
Yeah,
long is that
sure.
they need to be ranked higher because it just means more down south. And, hey, we know that the style of football, we've seen the history, we've seen SEC teams winning, but now we're putting more teams into the fold. We're
Sure.
giving more teams
Yeah.
opportunities to knock off these SEC schools that usually get 1 to 2 bids in the 4-team playoffs.
Mhm.
Now there's 12. There's going to be more opportunities to take them out, and we're going to have to let the players do the talking,
Yeah.
which is exciting.
Well said.
All
All right.
that's to say, this is going to be a lot of fun. And this bracket could be totally busted with Ohio State. I mean, who knows? But, boy, if Tennessee gets by Ohio State, watch out,
Right.
America.
They can run the
Watch
table.
out.
Thank you.
Love it. All right, so with Tennessee being our champion, we still want to, get in the word here a little bit, let you know where we're at in our spiritual lives, because that's what we do, right? We combine the two. So if you're still with us, we want to talk through what we've been doing this month of December. We also want to end with a challenge to continue to build this community that we are building. So one of you guys want to start?
Yeah. The last couple years, we've had the privilege of going through Luke 1 chapter a day, leading up to Christmas, and man, it's been a pleasure. Been able to read the Word together, talk about it together. In fact, we actually have our Super Bowl group me. We're
Shout
sharing
out.
some of our thoughts from each day's
There have been some
chapter.
sweet. There have been some
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh yeah,
It's been fun.
there has been, but I know you guys always enjoy going through it. It's another thing to add to the season, and I'm excited. Hear some of your guys' thoughts over the last couple days.
For sure. I mean, and the cool thing is, too, with this is 24 chapters in Luke. So it works out perfect. Christmas Eve, you're reading about the resurrection, and it's like it's perfect timing just to set the scene for what this time of year represents, what
Yeah.
it means. There's something about this time of year, man, that just postures my heart and just such a really cool place. I don't know, and I've been able to, do this reading this is my 3rd time through, and man, it's done wonders just thinking and you're reading the birth of Christ and knowing what we celebrate and just how special, like, moments inside of the big picture, you can really slow down when you're reading 1 chapter a day and dive in. And man, the Lord this is just so beautifully written, and there's so much stuff to take away and learn from. It's done wonders for my spiritual journey, and yeah, it's been a huge blessing. So
Totally. I mean, I think the reason it's so important to us three especially is this is, we started a Bible study before we started this podcast,
Mhm.
and I think potentially the most growth in our 3 walks during that season of doing Bible studies almost every day
Yeah.
was going through Luke. I don't know if you guys disagree with that,
I
but
know.
I think
Yeah.
that really brought us 3 and a lot of other friends together in a really cool way. And we were legitimately meeting up on campus almost daily. I mean, we probably met up 20 of the 24 days
Mm-hmm.
to go through Luke and absolutely dissected it for hours on end. So yeah, it's just a little extra special, and we want you guys to at least know that this is something that people do, something that people are affected by when they go through this. And again, I think it's timely. It's a cool story of that, kind of corroborates with the Christmas story that comes up, and yeah, it's been a really cool thing that's been a part of our walks, which has been the coolest part.
Absolutely. And I would just challenge you readers to come to Luke or any gospel, or really any book in the Bible, just as you are, right? I mean, we're all guilty of bringing things to the Word, whether that be our blind spots, whether it be our own ideas, agendas, you name it, right? Baggage, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But truly, as we read the Word, God's Word, it reads us, right? It reveals the things in our hearts. It pierces into us. It's alive. It's powerful. It's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Like, there's just so many wonderful things that come from the Word. And I would encourage you, if you haven't started from day one, just hop in right here. Today's what, the 9th?
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be later.
Right,
but,
whenever they see this.
But I mean,
But my
yeah,
point is, if you didn't do the first 8 or 9 days, just go right where everyone else is. Like, just be in the moment. It's not about quantity, it's about quality, and letting the Word change you as you read it.
Yeah, and also knowing that if you watch this on the 22nd or if you watch this on the 20th, just start your 24 days. Like, if you're looking for a solid about month plan, Luke's a great place to go. Of course, all the Gospels are.
Yep.
And it's so cool reading through each Gospel, just seeing something new every time.
That's right.
You can read it so many times, and God's like, I bet you missed this last time.
Yeah.
Or, hey, you're going through this moment in your life, and this passage just means a bit more to you this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure you're reading this because this is what you need right now in your life. I think through the parables that you see of Luke 6 through 8, the Transfiguration, blows my mind every time I read it.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things. All the healing that is done. It's Jesus. I mean, it is the best. My favorite parts of the Bible is when you see those red words,
Right.
and that's of course when Jesus is speaking. So, yeah, it's fruitful every time.
For sure. I mean, that's the amazing thing about our God is we can read this over and over and over again, but because of life, we have different circumstances. We're never in the same place, right? We have new experiences, new times where, man, I didn't know God was going to come through, and he did. Or, man, prayers that maybe haven't been answered yet. And we can go in here and read and have confidence that in our season, whatever we're praying for, the Lord hears us. He sees us. These people in here had been praying for a Savior for years and years and years, and the Lord didn't forget about them. He provided that Savior in Jesus Christ, and we see him throughout his ministry in here. But there's just so many things that I think the challenge for me, and that's been difficult, honestly, is putting ourselves in the perspective of the people that are living in this time. Like, can you imagine seeing someone literally just bringing people from death to life, like physically, but spiritually in the same way? You see healings of all different kinds, massive crowds surrounding him. Like, and this is before social media, but I'm sure everybody knew and heard about this and was like, man, I want to see this guy. Like, it blows my mind that we have evidence right here that we can read about, and we have an example to follow as being believers of Christ. Like, the Bible is just so critical for our walk. And man, like, I'll be honest with you viewers, like, it's been at times hard to get in my Bible.
That's right.
It's felt like a chore. There's been times where that's been a challenge. But every time we open this book, the Lord wants to speak, and he will speak. It's just all about our heart posture, just allowing him the space to speak. We know he always wants to speak to us.
And kind
Sure.
of really quickly, we went through chapter 9 today. Right now we're recording on December 9th. And also take another level of, like, obviously all these people are seeing these things, just their minds are blown by the miracles Jesus is doing. But then take it to another level of being the disciples that are with the Lord. And how that can kind of be something we want to do in our lives. We want to be disciples for the Lord. They
100%.
saw even crazier things,
Right.
and they're the ones that are writing this stuff down, right? I think of the Transfiguration. They literally heard the heavens open up, and God spoke.
Yeah.
I mean, that they saw a whole nother level. And I think in our lives, let's be disciples. Let's get to know Him. Let's get to understand His voice, and we're going to see things that we never thought we could see on this earth. So I just think it's kind of a cool thing that we got to read today in chapter 9.
Right. And I mean, just to build off that point, discipling others, what does that look like? Well, I guess it's just showing others how to walk closer to the Lord. And everyone has a different walk, right? But we can use what we've learned and what the Lord has revealed to us to help others walk closer to Him. And one of the takeaways I see through the first 9 chapters of Luke is Jesus's emphasis on the heart, right? You see, like, over and over again, your faith has saved you, go in peace. Your faith has made you well, go in peace. X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
And yes, this is written in different contexts for us today. We have to put ourselves in the shoes of the audience, the original audience here, but there's still that application for today. Jesus is interested in your heart and your attitudes, your intentions behind things, not necessarily that your actions don't matter and your decisions don't matter, because they do, but He's always more interested in the heart, and that's where your faith is made real. That is where you can surrender your life to Him. That's the wellspring of life. Everything flows from there.
For sure. And going off that, hey, it's not going to be easy. I mean, to the viewers watching, for us in the room, man, life, there's going to be challenges, and Jesus has met with a ton of them, as we'll get to later at the end of the month, obviously. Man, like, and even I'm looking at chapter 4 right now, the temptation of Jesus, right? When we start to dive in, and when you, as a viewer, expect challenges and expect the enemy to try to get you distracted from this, because this book is alive, it's powerful, and the last thing he wants us doing is reading this word, because he knows that's going to strengthen our faith. And so, it's going to be a challenge. And kind of going into that, there is a challenge that we want to kind of give to you guys as, the audience here. We were talking just before the show and thought maybe it would be cool if we did a Bible in a year plan, only the New Testament. So we'd be reading the New Testament. I've done it this year. So it's going to be at most like a chapter a day. And so we'll throw this link, in a post or whatever we're going to, decide to do.
Yep.
But we'll be all doing this together, reading the word, parsing the word together. And I think there's so much power in that community. And it can feel like, especially if you're trying to get in the Bible for the first time, I think that's why I look back and have such fond memories of our group, because we were all doing it together for the first time.
Yeah.
So, when in isolation, it can be tempting or easy to be like, I don't know if that's God or is it me, or, like, there's a lot of different things the enemy can try to mess with. But when you have a group together diving in and really just learning about the Lord, like, there's just something so powerful there. And so that's our challenge as we go into the new year. I know there's New Year's resolutions around the corner, right? So we're going to be, throwing that out there, and we'd love as many people to get in here as possible. Obviously, there is some element of sacrifice here, right? It's going to take, however much time you feel the Lord's putting into it, or, wants you to put into it a day. But I promise it's going to strengthen you in one way or the other, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be challenges to do that every day, to set that discipline, over and over and over again. You'll start to realize that, man, despite the day I'm having, I can get in and the Lord can do a work no matter where my heart comes in before, no matter what day I've had, no matter if it's been a great day, a really bad day. There's just something powerful about just getting into the habit of meeting with our Creator, because, man, He's always there and always available.
There's a couple things I want to reemphasize that you said. This isn't Bible in a year. This is not the full Bible. It's
Correct.
not 4 to 5 chapters a day.
Right.
This is maybe even less than a chapter a day.
Right.
This is doable, and I want to also emphasize that the link to the plan will be in the link in the description. So if you're here, if you're at minute 55 of this episode where we talked about college football for 35 minutes, you're still here, or if you skip to the end, because hopefully we'll give you that opportunity to see this challenge and give you guys opportunities to skip to the end just for this moment. If you're at all convicted, go for it. Take a leap of faith. Click the link in our description. We're also going to post a clip of this, and there will be a link in our description of our Instagram as well. But go for it. And then we also want you to join our group me, because if you ever have questions about what you're reading, if you ever have encouragement, something that God absolutely put on your heart, we want you to put it in that group me. Right now we've built a small group me that's with a lot of our past guests, and there have been some awesome conversations. But we don't just want past guests, guys. We don't just want athletes. We're looking for people that are looking to grow in their faith. And we want to hear from you, too, because God doesn't just speak through this word. He speaks through others.
That's right.
And there's nobody that's not worthy of hearing him and also, allowing others to hear through us. So, man, take that leap of faith if you have any conviction right now in this moment.
Yeah, and before we wrap up, I just want to finish with, I guess, a practical example. If you wanted to run a marathon, you wouldn't start off by running 26 miles in one day, right? You start off small. And I had a mentor tell me this the other day. It's like, as you come to the Word, whether it's one little passage, one little chapter, whatever it is, start small, and you'll get that momentum over time, right? The Lord will be doing that work in your heart and in your mind as you read the Word. It'll soften your heart. He'll change you, and then you'll be able to add maybe a little bit more at a time, just like as you would mileage for a marathon preparation. And so just come to it as you are, and that's our invitation to you guys. We're stripping it down. We're making it easier, making it more accessible to you guys, and we want to walk alongside you as we all read God's Word.
Yep, and come as you are, right? You could have never opened this Bible before. That's honestly the best. We're looking for you.
That's right.
And God's looking for you. You don't have to have a crazy amount of knowledge to come in here. Don't feel like that at all. Because honestly, one of the craziest experiences and moments is when we didn't have the knowledge and we started to read these things and started experiencing them for ourselves. Yeah. That was an amazing feeling for the first time to be like, I read this and I've experienced this, to be able to go through and read this for the first time. We'd love to share that experience with you, and we'd love it if you could be a part of our plan and be a part of this journey with us.
January 1st is when this will begin. So it gives you an opportunity. It gives you a bit of time to prepare, finish up any plans you may be on right now. And even if you're in another plan, again, I think this is only going to add probably 10 minutes of reading to your day. Whether you decide to go deeper, that's on you. And I think each day will be different. But we hope you join us on January 1st. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it as a community. And we hope you guys join us. So all that information will be in the bios of whatever app you are watching this on. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope our college football playoff talk is right.
Go Vols.
We hope that we have just a great 2025 as well.
And have a very, very Christmas.
A very, very.
A very Merry Christmas.
A very, very, very Merry
A very,
Christmas.
very Merry Christmas.
All right. We love you guys. Thanks so much. Hey, tune in for episode 40. It's pretty awesome. See you soon.